Where will Leo Carlsson play next year? Well, these two injuries could open the door for Leo to get more games in the NHL next season than expected. It has been reported by a Swedish news outlet and then later confirmed by the Ducks that Isac Lundeström has pulled his Achilles tendon. Google Translate actually has a hard time translating this whole article, but most importantly, it translates the article's headline to a hamstring injury, but the word halsina actually translates to Achilles tendon in Swedish. Lundy had 14 points in 61 games last season, which honestly was underwhelming as he had made strides the previous year. But who wasn't underwhelming last season? Then you add in his broken finger, for which he missed significant time, and for sure played a part in his play when he returned. It was just a rough year all around for Lundy. Well, now his next season gets even rougher as he tore his Achilles tendon 3 weeks ago while running and has since had surgery. He will have a 6-month rehab process, and he is not expected to be back till Christmas at the earliest. I thought this was the year that Lundy was going to break through, as he is a defensive-minded player with offensive upside, and the Ducks just hired a defensive-minded coach in Cronin. But now, this being his final year of his contract, one in which he had to prove himself with one of the worst injuries in sports, and seeing that Verbeek just lets middle-of-the-pack RFAs walk, this might be Lundy's last year with the Ducks, as there are many people in the prospect pool who could take his spot. Now, we don't know the full extent of the tear, but for reference, Erik Karlsson, who tore 70% of his Achilles with Ottawa at age 22, never looked the same after. Of course, he seems to have finally found his form again 6 years after the injury. But then you have Jonathan Huberdeau, who tore his at 23 before the 2016 season and returned the same season looking just fine. So Lundy is young at 23, which will help the healing, but it's going to be a tough process, and we really don't know what the future holds. At least he seems to be in good spirits, saying, "I've actually had a pretty good run with injuries earlier in my career. It's good to go through adversity as well, so hopefully it strengthens you in the future. But right now, it's boring. So best of luck on the rehab process, Lundy." Injury number 2 is Jakob Silfverberg, who suffered another blood clot during the World Championships, likely from a blocked shot during the tournament. He is currently on blood thinners and expects to be ready for the start of the season, but it's unknown. It will be Silf's last year with the Ducks, and while he was a part of one of my favorite Ducks lines ever, in the Kessler, Cogs, and Silf line, he has been a shell of himself since the hip surgery. Hopefully he can come back and end his time in the NHL on a high note. With Lundy's injury and maybe Silf's health, it opens the door for Carlsson to fill a void. Realistically though, he will probably play wing to start like the Ducks have done with their other top prospects, having Strome or Henrique move back to the center position, or maybe even Nathan Gaucher or Bo Gru gets a chance. One thing for sure is that Carlsson will not be playing in the NHL till he's 100% ready. Recent quotes from Pat Verbeek have come out saying that patience is going to be required when it comes to the Ducks prospects. This isn't really too surprising, as this has been Pat's philosophy since day one. Leo is going to get every opportunity to make the team out of camp. If not the NHL, they'll try San Diego, and if that's not it, he'll go back to Örebro. What's interesting is that Carlsson was interviewed by a Swedish news outlet, and he said that playing for the Gulls was not an option. It would either be the NHL or back to Sweden in the SHL. He will be with the Ducks leading up to the start of the season. He will be a part of the rookie camp from September 13th to the 18th, as well as the main Ducks camp starting on September 21st till the start of the season. So he most likely will play some preseason games. Note, this would also mean he would miss the start of the SHL season, which begins on September 14th. I personally want him to start the season with the Ducks, play 9 games so he doesn't burn a year of his ELC, then play in the AHL rather than the SHL, so he can adjust to the smaller ice and tighter schedule, playing more games in less time. The SHL plays 52 and the AHL plays 72 in the regular season. I'm not opposed to sending him back to the SHL as long as he's guaranteed to play center, which seems to be the case, but the Ducks ultimately don't have control over there, and he could be moved around a lot. And in San Diego, he'd be guaranteed the number 1 center position. I will say that Örebro has obviously done a great job developing him already. It really all depends how he looks in camp. If he blows the coaching staff away at camp and looks physically ready, give him a stint in the NHL. If he looks like he just needs to refine his game for the NA style a bit, send him to the AHL. Where do you think Leo will play next season? Let us know in the comments down below. Thank you for watching, and go Ducks!